Hello and welcome everyone. This is Dr. Flores, and today we're going to go through monitoring and controlling. So we're going to take 5 questions from this process group, and really the focus here is to know what you're trying to do with monitoring and controlling. If you remember, in the planning process group we created the project management plan, and as part of the plan, you had quite a few other plans, the subsidiary plans, if you will, the time management plan, the cost management plan, schedule management plan, and so on. So you're measuring and controlling to those plans. In other words, you're making sure that what you promised the customer from your planning process group, you're delivering throughout the project. All right, so let's take question number 1. Which of the following is an output of control schedule? Okay, so here's a pretty straightforward question. You're being asked, what is an output of control schedule? Is it A, performance reviews, B, modeling techniques, C, schedule compression, or D, work performance information? Think about it for a second. Well, the answer is D, work performance information. So remember, you can only have work performance information after executing. So we're beyond that now. So we're in monitoring and controlling. And so really we're trying to see if the plans that we created for in the project management plan, are we on track? Are we staying focused on the cost, on the schedule, on the scope? So here, more particularly we're looking at the schedule variance. So the notable work performance information includes schedule variance and schedule performance index. The other items are tools and techniques of control schedule. So again, most of the time in these kinds of questions, you'll have one that's clearly the answer because it's the output. And the other ones will be inputs or tools and techniques. And it just depends on how the question is worded. This comes from monitoring and controlling. It's in the PMBOK page 185, level 1, because it's a pretty straightforward question. Question number 2. The customer is concerned that some work is falling short of expectations. He asked the project manager to measure, examine, and validate whether work and deliverables meet requirements. To provide an answer to the customer, the project manager will engage in what type of activities? A, quality control, B, inspection, C, oversight, or D, micromanagement. So you're looking for pretty much a straightforward definition. Now you're given a scenario, but you're asked for a definition. What does measure, examine, and validate mean? What does it mean? How can you tie it to a term? And the answer is B, inspection. So these are words that are tied to inspection. It includes activities such as measuring, examining, and validating to determine whether work and deliverables meet requirements and product acceptance criteria. In other words, can we accept the product? Have we met the requirements? This comes from monitoring and controlling, page 135, level 2, because you had a little scenario in the question itself. Question number 3. The main benefit of this process is that it ensures an optimal information flow among all communication stakeholders at any moment in time. A, control communications, B, control quality, C, control risks, or D, control stakeholder management. So you're looking for a definition to a process, and we're concerned about optimal information, and the answer is A, control communications. So we're trying to control communications, and the definition here is that control communications is the process of monitoring and controlling communications throughout the entire project lifecycle to ensure the information needs of the project stakeholders are met. Now you notice here it says monitoring and controlling in the actual definition, but that I couldn't put that in the question itself because it would kind of give it away. So know that that's the way you have to think through questions, is they're not going to be that straightforward. So this comes from the monitoring and controlling process group, PMBOK page 303, difficulty level 1, straight definition, pretty much. Question number 4. After deliberations with a vendor, it's determined that they are unable to meet a scheduled deadline. The project manager will need to adjust the schedule, but must first discuss options with the sponsor. Once gaining approval, which process will the project manager use to modify the procurement? All right, so think about where this question is taking you. You have deliberations with a vendor, so that means you're working through some kind of procurement kind of effort. The definition of procurement is the buying of goods and services from an external vendor, which is the scenario that we have in front of you here. So is it A, change control board, B, steering committee, C, analytics process, or D, contract change control system? All right, the answer is D, contract change control system, because we are dealing with a vendor. There is a contract change control system which is different from our change control board in the sense that we have different stakeholders that are particular to the vendor. So that's why this question is a little tricky now, because you have to think through, okay, so what exactly is the question asking me? Well, we are talking about a contract because we are talking about a vendor. Now, could you say that change control board could be an option? Sure, that could be an option. But what's the best answer? Contract change control system, because that's the overarching system here. So the contract change control system is part of the integrated change control process and includes the paperwork, tracking systems, dispute resolution procedures, and approval levels necessary for authorizing changes. This is monitoring and controlling, page 383, level 2, because actually this almost borders on level 3 because it is a little difficult. You have to know that you have to think beyond the change control board, and you have to understand the definition of a vendor, and so it's one of those tough ones. But if you kind of can think through it and understand what the question is asking, you'll be okay. Question number 5. The process of validating scope is found in which overarching project management process? A, closing, B, executing, C, monitoring, controlling, or D, initiating? So is validating scope, where is that found? So this is one of those on page 61 of the PMBOK that I point you to quite a bit. Know that matrix, page 61, where you learn more about where processes fall. So the answer, of course, is monitoring and controlling. So that is a process in monitoring and controlling. There are 2 scope management processes found in monitoring and controlling, and those are validate scope and control scope. By the way, validate scope used to be verify scope, but the PMBOK changed in the 5th edition, changed to validate scope. And this is monitoring and controlling, and I pointed you to page 61 because that's a matrix that's very important for us. Know that matrix. I use it quite a bit. And this is level 1 because it's pretty much, if you know where it goes, then it should be a pretty easy question to get right. Okay, so we've gone through 5 questions, and I just want to make sure you know about PM Quick Start, which is our free PMP training here at Jimbok Academy. So you've got a lot of good stuff out there, a lot of quiz questions that you can go through, some lectures and some other materials, and they're all free. And now if you're really interested in getting through and passing the PMP and or even the CAPM, whatever your interests are, sometimes it's because of the hours, then I definitely recommend PM Now. So you can navigate out there from Jimbok Academy or from Quick Start and learn more about the program. So you'll get questions like these that have voiceover. I find these very useful because I get a chance to really understand the question and the thinking behind how I can get the question right. And of course, you go to jimbokacademy.com for more information. You see many of the free resources that we have that will help you pass your PMP exam. Well, good luck, and I'll see you in the next lesson.